So I remember a number of years ago, I was traveling through India, visiting the different Buddhist holy sites on pilgrimage, and one day we were traveling to Shravasti, which is the ancient city of Savatthi, and going to Jada's Grove, Anathapindika's Park, one of the most famous monasteries in the time of the Buddha, and a place where he spent many years living and teaching. And one afternoon we were sitting in meditation there in the field in the middle of the monastery, and we had just begun our meditation, the group that I was traveling with, and just after a few moments, I heard this sound approaching us, and it sounded like a dog was running towards us at full speed. And as I sat and listened, the sound got closer and closer, and it seemed like there was a dog that was just running straight for me, and it sounded like he's running very fast. And finally the sound got very close, and I decided to open my eyes and look, and much to my surprise, there was a big monkey that was running at me full speed, and it ran right up to me, and it grabbed this juice box that was next to me, and it turned around and it ran away. And then it ran a short distance, and it stopped, and it turned around, and it sat down, and it very casually tore the top of the juice box off, and then poured the juice that was left into its mouth, and then it threw the juice box on the ground, and then it walked away. And I'm not sure, I think the other people in the group thought that it was as humorous as I did, and it was quite just a very funny experience, in the middle of this very serious afternoon. And I think it's interesting to reflect that if it hadn't been a monkey, if it had been a person that had come up and stolen my juice box, the reaction would have been very different. It wouldn't have been funny. It would have made me feel upset and angry. And I think it's interesting to reflect on why that is. And of course, it's for animals. Taking things is just totally ordinary for them. It's just part of their world. But for humans, we really expect humans to be better than that. So when they do something like taking something that isn't theirs, it makes us feel upset and feel like it shouldn't, they shouldn't be that way. And the Buddha and the meditation masters, they point to these different qualities that make somebody truly human. And they oftentimes say that, although there are billions of human beings living on this planet, they don't all have the mind of a human. And there are many different levels of levels which their mind can be on. And the Buddha, said that there are these 5 actions that make someone a human being, a true human being. So, someone who is truly human, who has the mind of a human being, they refrain from taking the life of other living creatures, and they refrain from stealing, and they refrain from sexual misconduct, and they refrain from lying, and they refrain from using intoxicants. And anyone who habitually breaks those precepts, you could say that their mind is not really on the level of a human, and they are, likely headed towards a lower state of existence. And the Buddha taught about many different levels of reality or states of existence that the mind can be reborn into. And a lot of times we talk about rebirth and where somebody will go after they die, but the Buddha and the meditation masters are also really pointing to where are we living now, and the causes and conditions that will send us to our future rebirth are already being put into place right now, and are in a lot of cases already manifesting, because although there are billions of people in the world, they definitely don't all live in the same world. They have very different experiences of life. Some people have very happy lives and maybe don't ever really experience much extreme suffering for most of their lives. Other people experience only suffering. They have quite horrific lives. And the Buddha pointed to these different realms of existence that we can be reborn into, after this life. So there's the hell realms, there's the animal realm, and there's the ghost realm, the human realm, and the Deva realm, or the heavenly realms. So he pointed to these 5 main realms as places where we can go after we die, depending on the actions that we've done in this life. But the meditation masters, they oftentimes point out that, even in this life, our mind is headed towards one of those realms. And for most people, we have quite mixed karma, so we do good and bad actions. So, for some of us, perhaps there's, it's not so clear where particular people will go, but for others, perhaps it's more clear, how their mind is headed. So the Buddha, encouraged us to follow these 5 precepts, these 5 main rules of conduct, if we would like to head to a pleasant place after we depart from this world. But of course, it will also lead us to living in a pleasant place here in this life as well. And so I think it's useful to contemplate the different realms of existence a little bit, just to kind of ask ourselves, where is it that we would like to go after we die, or where is it that we would like to be headed even in this life? And the Buddha pointed to the 3 lower realms as places of incredible suffering and almost exclusively suffering, and the two higher realms of the human realm and the Deva realm as being realms of quite a lot of happiness, and almost, for many of those beings, almost exclusively happiness sometimes. So I think it's helpful just to reflect on the different realms, because sometimes we might not really see the danger in the lower realms. We might kind of forget that our actions do have consequences, and beginning with the hell realm, we can, even without being able to see into other realms of existence, we can see these realms manifesting even in this world, because the different humans have different minds, and those humans who have a particular mind state will tend to find themselves in those kinds of situations, so that we can really see the five realms manifesting in this world to some extent as well, because the mind is really driving these things. And beginning with the hell realm, there are places in the world which could be described as maybe hell on earth, places like prisons and war zones. Most of us probably go through our lives without really experiencing these things, but we can read stories about these places, and we can read about the quite horrific conditions and the amount of suffering that the people experience in those states, and we can know for ourselves that that's really not a place that we want to go. So we really don't want to engage in behavior that could possibly lead there. And the animal realm is something that people may feel like they're familiar with. A lot of people like animals, and we like cats and dogs, and some people might think, oh, actually, it wouldn't be really, maybe it's not such a bad thing to be reborn as an animal. It's kind of maybe kind of fun. But I think it's important to really reflect on the reality of the animal realm. I think for a lot of us, if we haven't spent time in nature, we tend to think of the animal realm as maybe like something from a Disney movie, where all of the animals have smiles on their faces and they're kind of dancing through the forest to music. But for those of us who really live in the forest and live around wild animals, the reality is very different than that. And the Buddha described the animal realm as a place of mutual devouring and the slaughter of the weak. And that's quite a good description of animals' daily life. They're constantly trying to either kill other animals or prevent themselves from being killed. And the rule of the animal world is really survival of the fittest. So taking advantage of other animals is just it's kind of the smart thing for them to do. So it's a realm of constant fear, constant aggression. Sometimes we even think about something like deer. We may think of like Bambi, really peaceful, happy animals. But for those of us who spend a lot of time living here in the forest, we're around deer a lot, and you see actually, if you just watch the deer, the reality of their existence is they're basically just afraid all of the time. They will be eating some leaves or something, and they they never really put their head down for very long before they have to stop and look around, make sure there's not a mountain lion sneaking up on them. So they basically just live their entire day and night in fear that there's a predator sneaking up on them, is going to attack them. And so, reflecting on the animal realm, we can see that this is also really not a place that we should want to go. And the ghost realm, although there may be many examples, oftentimes the ghost realm is described as a place of incredible longing and craving. Oftentimes the ghosts are called the hungry ghosts. So described as a place of incredible longing. And we can see this, in one example, maybe the homeless people living on the streets, if they're, addicted to drugs, living a life of incredible longing and craving. And we can take a look at them, and there are many other examples of people in the world who their life and their world is just constant longing for things that they used to have, longing for things that they can't have. And we can reflect on that realm. That's definitely not a place that we want to go either. And then looking at the human realm, although we can say that those who are human beings, they lead many different kinds of lives, but those who are truly human, who are mentally human, who really follow the precepts habitually, they experience a sense of happiness and ease and an uprightness of mind from following those precepts, from being good people, being truly good people. They have a sense of inner integrity, and that tends to bring happiness to them and success to them, whether it's in their family life or their career. They tend to be happy people because they feel good about themselves. And we can aspire to be reborn as a human in a good destination, and oftentimes the teachers encourage us to seek a human birth if we're interested in spiritual practice, because it's said to be the ideal place for experiencing enough happiness and suffering that we can see the truth and liberate our minds. So this is a good place that we can set our sights on for our future rebirths, and then also the Deva world, the heavenly realm. We can observe maybe different kinds of people who are living in heavenly realms of existence. Perhaps there are different types of Deva realms. We can observe some humans who are incredibly wealthy and successful and maybe famous, experiencing great happiness, at least for a certain amount of time. So, perhaps that's one kind of a rebirth into a type of heavenly existence. There's also those beings in the world who have incredibly pure minds, who practice sila, virtue, and who cultivate meditation, and who are able to access deep states of meditative bliss. And that is also definitely a heavenly realm. So this is also a a very good place to aspire to be reborn in, and it's very much like going to the airport, and we can decide, where do we want to go? Do we want to fly to Canada or to Thailand or to Europe? And we can decide where we would like to travel, and those different places have very different features and qualities, and our experience there will be very different, so that we, instead of deciding at the end of our life, it's something like we decide throughout our lives, in every moment, based upon our actions of body and speech and mind. Are we going to develop wholesome qualities or unwholesome qualities? And based on our behavior over the course of our life, then we are buying our ticket to our next destination. And so as human beings, though we have been born as a human, then we have an incredible amount of potential, for either good or evil. And we can really, through our actions, we can improve ourselves greatly and improve our future experience, or we can completely destroy ourselves as well. We can do things that will deteriorate the mind and will lead us to very, very dark places. And there's many stories of people doing very good things, doing very evil things. I remember back in the year 2020, during the pandemic, when COVID first started to explode in the world, and I was living in Thailand at the time, and as people probably remember, in the first number of months of the pandemic, very quickly there were a number of things that became very scarce. So things like hand sanitizer and masks became incredibly hard to find, even online. I think that they were sold out for a while, and it became very, just very scarce. And I remember at the time hearing this story from, maybe it was from, I think it may be Tennessee, where these two brothers, they went around like at the beginning of the pandemic, and they bought up all of the hand sanitizer from all of the local stores, and then they started to sell it for like $100 a bottle. And when I heard that, I felt like, wow, it's just such a uninspiring action. And reflecting on it now, that kind of action is not really worthy of a human being. That's not really an action that belongs to the human realm. That's more of an action that belongs to the animal realm. A sense of taking advantage of others, selfishness, and not really caring about other people's well-being. That isn't really a quality of somebody who's truly human. That's more a quality of an animal, maybe. But I also remember at the same time, basically, that was happening, in Thailand. Although I heard that it was very difficult to find these kinds of items like hand sanitizer and masks and things, at the monastery we always had just an incredible amount of these things. Our kind of almost overflowing with with bottles of hand sanitizer and masks. And I found that incredibly inspiring that, many people in Thailand, they wanted to give the best of what they had to the monks. And so at that time, one of the most precious things that people really needed, but was also incredibly difficult to find, were these types of things. And that kind of incredible selflessness and, willing to kind of forego one's own comfort, and maybe even, some of these people maybe gave things that they kind of needed for themselves, but they had that incredible generosity, being willing to go without for themselves in order to help other people. And that's an incredibly inspiring action that belongs to the higher realms. That's like a human or a deva, these kinds of acts of incredible selflessness and generosity. And it's easy sometimes to be a bit pessimistic about the state of the world, and it's easy to be kind of negative when we think about people in general. It's easy to think that people are just kind of evil, and that's just their nature. If we look at the news, it's very easy to make that kind of conclusion. But I think it's really good to reflect on the stories of people doing incredibly inspiring and wholesome things. And there's also one story that I remember from a number of years ago that I found incredibly inspiring, and I felt like it was a great example of the potential that humans have for good. It's a story of something that might be seen as kind of a small thing, but when I saw it, I really felt an incredible sense of happiness and uplift. And this was a video I saw a number of years ago, and it was a video of like a baseball game, I think like some big game, and it was, some big moment in the game. Maybe it was right at the end, and maybe the score was very close, and the batter stepped up to the plate, and he hit the ball, and it soared over the field and into the stands for a home run, and everyone was going crazy. And as the ball came into the stands, everyone tried to grab it because it would be such a valuable ball, having been hit at that point in time. And there was this young man, maybe in his 20s, who jumped up above everybody else, and he caught the ball, and he landed, and for a moment you just see this like look of euphoria on his face. He's so happy that he caught this ball, and he could probably sell it for a lot of money, or he could even just keep it as a collector's item. And so he just stands there with this smile of euphoria on his face for about 1 second, and then suddenly he turns and he walks up to this little girl, and he bends down and he hands it to her, and then he walks away. And I found that so just so moving, is incredibly uplifting and inspiring, even for myself. Just witnessing that brought my mind into a very wonderful state, and I can't imagine what it did for his mind. And I think that's a good example of, the potential that we have as human beings. We can do very evil things, we can take advantage of other people, but we also have the potential for incredible goodness. We can really go out of our way to help other people who are less fortunate than us. And there is a very real result to that kind of action. Even in that moment, I'm sure that person's mind was uplifted into a very heavenly state. So these are just a few reflections for this evening, and I'll offer them.